Hi, everybody. We're just getting started. We're letting people come into the room. Welcome to the social hour after the main day of the first day of GeoIgnite. We're so glad to see our cocktail folks with us. We've got a great group discussion on WorldView Legion happening now. So I'm just going to take a minute and welcome Maxar, the team. Thank you for being our gold sponsors. We wouldn't be able to do this without you. We're sorry John's not with us. John is a figure in the Canadian geospatial community, well loved, and so yeah, we're sorry he couldn't be here today. But thank you all for being here. So first off, let me introduce the group quickly. We've got Chris Formeller from Maxar Technologies, product manager. We've got Kumar Nevalur, who was with us on the panel just previously, and Catherine Seitz is with us, and they're going to be talking about the WorldView Constellation. So without further ado, I will turn it over to the Maxar team.
Excellent. Thank you, Jonathan. And thank you so much for hosting this wonderful event. We really appreciate everything you and Tessa have done for us in particular and for the sessions throughout the day here. So my name is Catherine Seitz. As Jonathan mentioned, John Roos has allowed me to fill in for him here, and we're really looking forward to spending the next hour with everyone. I did want to make one exciting announcement, and I see it looks like we have 40 people in the session so far here. There will be a drawing on Friday at the end of the proceedings for all of the folks who attend the session for the next hour here. And that drawing will be for an iPad. So please look forward to that. We'll be registering your names and announce the winner on Friday and get that mailed out to you. So another item we did want to mention, as Tessa just popped up here on the chat, you're able to use the Q&A function at the bottom of the screen. Hopefully everyone can see that. You can feel free to ask us questions throughout. We do have a little bit of a presentation, a video to share with you. And then we have dedicated time at the end to run through a Q&A. And then we'll also be using the polling feature at the bottom. We want to make this interactive. We want to get to know a little bit about each of you, especially since we can't see you. So if you see perfect. We have our first polling question here. Do you have your drink of choice? Looks like most people do. If you don't, feel free to bring us with you to your kitchen so that you can get your beverage of choice and enjoy the happy hour we have prepared for you here. Perfect. So thanks to everyone for voting. Now you see how it works, and we hope you'll participate in a number of poll questions we have for you throughout the session here. So as Jonathan mentioned, kind of already did intros here. My name is Catherine Seitz, and I lead the US and Canada sales team at Maxar. And I wanted to take a moment and also introduce two of my colleagues that we're very fortunate to have here with us today. Really enjoyed spending my last 5 years here at Maxar, getting to know them better. So I'll turn it over to Chris Formeller, who is our Imagery product manager at Maxar, to say a couple words about himself.
All right. Thank you, Catherine, and welcome, everyone. Well, as Catherine said, I'm the Imagery product manager. So one of my main focuses is improving the quality of our raster and mosaic products and trying to provide as much value out to the market. I'm been in the industry 20 plus years, so I have been through remote sensing and aerial industry side. So I really look forward to everyone's questions and see how I can help.
Perfect. Thank you, Chris. And last but certainly not least, and who will be carrying us through the bulk of the presentation here, we have Kumar Navalur, who wears many hats at Maxar and has over the years, but is really driving the development and market development of WorldView Legion.
Thank you, Catherine. Again, my name is Kumar Navalur. I've been with Maxar for 15 plus years, and I've been in the industry for 25 plus years, so that dates me quite a bit. So I was sharing in the previous panel about my first experience working with Canada. My master's degree, I'm originally from India, was based on Canadian Journal of Remote Sensing. A lot of great work has been done in Canada, so we are fortunate to be partnering with various customers in Canada and doing business with you guys. So today what we're going to do is we will talk about Legion. So I'm sure you have heard of Legion before, and the WorldView Legion satellites, we'll be launching 6 of them next year. And we have a short video that talks about what these satellites are and what they can do. So Rachel, if you can play the video.
Can you stop screen sharing? Kumar, thank you. And Tessa, I think you have the video up.
For 2 decades, government and commercial organizations have relied on Maxar satellite imagery to map, monitor, and provide Earth intelligence at a global scale. Today, Maxar operates the world's most sophisticated commercial imaging constellation. But to help customers keep pace with rapid change around the world, we are excited to introduce WorldView Legion, our next-generation, high-resolution Earth imaging constellation. Designed and built in-house, WorldView Legion will fly in both sun-synchronous and mid-inclination orbits to dramatically increase Maxar's revisit over the most rapidly changing regions on Earth. It will triple our high-resolution 30-centimeter coverage and overall imaging capacity, allowing Maxar to capture many areas up to 15 times in a single day. This enables Maxar to better support applications that require current and accurate Earth intelligence, with frequent updates on changing ground conditions for enhanced monitoring, foundational and national security and military operations, accurate mapping, a key component on the road to autonomous vehicle technology, and expedited access to post-event coverage, critical in the wake of natural disasters. With WorldView Legion, Maxar is shaping the future of what's possible, changing the way we detect, understand, and address change. The next era in Earth intelligence begins at launch.
All right, Catherine, do you want to take on the poll question?
I do, but I'm on mute. Someone else go.
We can hear you.
We can hear you fine.
All right, looks like Catherine is having audio issues.
So it looks like the majority of you are not currently using our products. So we are excited to share those with you today.
Awesome. What I will do is, while I want to give you a little history on Maxar, and then spend the next few, probably 10, 15 minutes talking about Legion. So Maxar, we started as a commercial remote sensing company in 1992. Our first satellite is Iconos. We launched in 1999. And we have actually started setting the bar for various technology trends in commercial remote sensing. Iconos was at 80 centimeters. We quickly followed that with QuickBird. It was capturing data at 60 centimeters. And then WorldView 1 at 50, GeoEye 1 at 40, and then WorldView 3 and WorldView 4 are at 30 centimeters spatial resolution. What that means is we are capturing the entire Earth with greater detail as we started our journey in 1999 with these satellites. The second one, which is also important, is the number of spectral bands. This is the, within our, I can see only red, green, blue. There is a lot more information before and after that particular spectrum. And we have spectral bands that capture information in those regions. Iconos, QuickBird, GeoEye 1, they all had 4 bands. And then we quickly went to 8 bands on WorldView 2. And then on WorldView 3, we put 16 spectral bands, including 8 bands in shortwave infrared that provide variety of information about geology, agriculture, oil and gas, so on and so forth. So it's not only about taking regular color pictures, but also capturing information beyond what our eye can see. The third one, which is where Legion becomes very exciting, is when we started launching these satellites. For example, if you just take Iconos or QuickBird by themselves, they would come back maybe every 4 days. So before we launched Legion, today we have 4 operating satellites, WorldView 1, GeoEye 1, WorldView 2, and WorldView 3. We can come back at least up to 2 times a day, and sometimes maybe 3, 4 times a day. All these satellites are in what we call sun-synchronous orbit. They go from pole to pole while the Earth is rotating underneath it. So what happens is with the agility of the satellites, we can come back to any place on the globe, like I said, 2 to 3 times a day. So that's what we call the temporal revisit. So with WorldView Legion, as you saw in the video, we are launching the satellites not only in the polar sun-sync orbits, but also the inclination orbits. This is very similar to the orbit International Space Station does. So we are also, so there is a plane that is like 90 degrees opposite to how ISS flies around. So by having 2 satellites in each of these orbits, so now we have total of 6 satellites that can come back up to 15 times a day. And by the way, the revisit rate changes based on the geographic location of the planet. For Canada, it can be up to 7 to 8 times a day. So this opens up all kinds of new applications that we have not seen before. And another key aspect of this constellation we have been building is the agility of the satellites. What I mean by agility is how the satellites can take one shot, turn quickly around, and take another shot of a different place. And that is important because these satellites have what we call stereo capabilities that allow us to create 3D models. So, and Chris, our product manager, can talk a lot more about that. But the agility allows us to do not only take point collects, but also collect large areas very, very frequently. So today, with the constellation of 4 satellites, we capture around 3 million square kilometers every day. So when we have Legion up and running next year, and then with WorldView Constellation, our collection capacity goes up to 5 million square kilometers a day. So for those of you, just a quick math, the Earth's land mass is 150 million square kilometers, and we are capturing around 5 million square kilometers of different locations on the planet every day. And today we have a capacity to cover the entire land mass up to 8 times. And then with Legion, that's going to increase exponentially, and I'll talk more about that. So what is Legion? Legion is our next generation satellite. We have 2 planned launches for Legion. There is a launch in first half of 2021 where 2 of our satellites will go into sun synchronous orbit, and they'll be collecting imagery at 30 centimeter resolution. And then in the second half of next year, we will launch 4 more satellites that will basically be in those mid inclination orbits I mentioned before. And when everything is in place, the WorldView Legion will be coming back up to 15 times a day. The other key thing is the image quality. When we talk about image quality, there are parameters such as signal to noise ratio and other technical stuff, but the whole thing is how much information you can interpret from a given image. So our image quality from Legion is better than some of the satellites we have today. And then for some of you customers, this is actually an interesting option we are promoting, is having a ground station where you can actually talk to the satellites and then download the data to wherever you are. This is a very interesting solution we offer to a few customers across the globe, but this is something that's available to all of our customers today. So key thing here is the launch is in 2021, 6 satellites. And actually, at looking just down, our resolution of the satellite is 29 centimeters. And the accuracy, which is something I forgot to mention, is these satellites are very accurate. When you take a picture, any feature you see in the satellite will be within 3 to 5 meters of where it is on the planet. So this is a very important information you require for various applications. Customers who are doing either maps or they're doing classifications of mines or forest or oil and gas, they do want the information to be positionally accurate. And we have been steadily improving the accuracy. And with Legion satellites, you expect around less than 5 meters is what we are predicting today. And we hope that would get better as we go forward. The other key thing is when I talk about accuracy, it's not only in the XY directions, but it's also vertical. We recently bought a company called Raycon, which was a joint venture between us and Saab. And Raycon is able to produce 3D models, very, very accurate 3D models. And the advantage with Legion is now with the Legions coming back up to 15 times a day, we can actually start updating our globe in 3D. So that's a very exciting thing you can expect. The other one are the spectral bands. As I mentioned, we had 8 bands on WorldView 2. We try to continue bands on the spectral continuity of these on Legion as well, especially even for the industry, because in the past, like I said, we would come back maybe once or twice a day at fixed times, either in the morning or in the afternoon. Now, if you think about a scenario like a disaster, like flooding, these satellites can come back up to 15 times a day and provide you a situational awareness of what is happening on the ground. So here is a bunch of technical specs. If somebody is interested, we can send you this information. But the key thing I wanted to point out in this particular slide is that a lot of the times we design the satellites for 7.5 years, but the expected life is usually more than 10 years. Just as an example, we launched WorldView 1 in 2007, and it's still going strong. Same thing with WorldView 2 and other satellites. So we do expect our Legion satellite to last way past 2030. And then the area we cover, as these satellites are flying at 500 kilometers, the area we can capture is around 9 kilometers is a swath we talk about, but we can collect large areas up to 100 kilometers, 200 kilometers in a given pass. So this is the example I wanted to show you that the coverage, when I talk about 15 times a day, changes geographically. So if you look at United States, these satellites will come back up to 13 times a day. For most of the Canada, I would say we're coming back up to 7 to 8 times. And then Arctic and as well as Antarctic poles, these satellites will come back up to 15 times a day. This is important because, again, depending on which satellite is coming at what time, using the capabilities of the headquarters in Colorado or the ground stations I mentioned before, you should be able to get this data quickly. And one of the things we are working as Maxar is how fast can we get the information into the hands of the users, especially the first responders in case of an emergency response or a disaster response. So we are prepared to ensure that these satellites are not only collecting huge amounts of data, very high resolution data, but also try to get the data to the end users so that they can do something with that particular data. And as Maxar, we're also investing in AI ML. So it's not only about data, but also the features like building footprints, the roads, the land use, land cover. These are the things you will see from us in terms of the information you can extract from this rich data source. So with that, we're going to have another poll question, and I will turn it back to Catherine from here.
Perfect. Thank you, Kumar. Very informative. So we wanted to ask everyone, what is the frequency of daily revisit of WorldView Legion over Canada? So get your answers in here. And you can use, if you did join late, you can, should be, oh, Doug says he can't see the poll. You should be able to click on poll at the bottom, or it should pop up for you. But this one has ended. Don't worry, we'll have more. And we are now sharing the results. So it looks like no one said 23. About a third of folks said 15. 15 is correct over certain parts of the globe, or correct-ish. And the majority, more than half of people answered 8, which is correct. If you remember a couple of slides back, the map that Kumar showed everyone. So thank you. All right. And we do, I think we can just jump in. We do have one question that came through the chat. As a reminder, if you click on the Q&A, okay, perfect. Nicholas, thank you for also entering your question into the Q&A. So Nicholas Martinez asked, are the launches currently dependent on external business investment, or is the demand already baked into the decision to launch the satellites in 2021? In other words, is there a risk that some of the Legion capacity will be deferred to 2022 to 2023? So I will turn it over to either Kumar or Chris.
Chris, you want to take a shot at it?
I can answer this question.
Perfect.
I mean, Legion is, to use your term, baked. So we have the active funding to produce and develop and launch Legion itself. Legion is on task and on schedule to launch. Unforeseen other events that could cause it, but no, we're not concerned on other business investments that we're waiting for. Legion has been fully funded.
Excellent. Thank you, Chris. All right. What other questions might folks have? And keep in mind, if you don't have questions, we'll be asking you more questions. Chris, while we wait for those questions to come in, what else would you like to share with the group from the product perspective?
Sure. Actually, Legion is really, truly an interesting constellation. As Kumar had noted, with the launch of additional sun synchronous and the MEOs, our ability to revisit will vastly increase, and our ability to capture more and more 30-centimeter content also will significantly increase. Now, which creates new opportunities for monitoring products. And with Legion, there's an interesting twist to it. As Kumar said, this is going to be an 8-band constellation, but there'll be a subtle change with the band combinations. Yes, it'll be 8 bands, but we are going to be making a minor adjustment to the red edge and removing out the near infrared 2 band. And we're going to split the red edge into 2 separate red edges, red edge 1 and red edge 2, which is going to allow us a greater ability to do biomass, vegetation indices, vegetation health. A lot of new use cases will come out of Legion itself. We'll be able to support many of the other historical applications, but with Legion, we're going to be able to kind of unlock new value with the Constellation with higher resolution and an additional slightly changed 8-band perspective.
Awesome. Chris, if I can add to that, Catherine, one of the key things is when you look at our customer missions today, I categorize them into 3 broad areas. One is mapping, the second one is monitoring, and the third one is what I call persistent surveillance. That's more for the military. I would say today, with the increased capacity, with 6 Legions collecting 30 centimeter class data, we will be collecting 2 million square kilometers a day. That's 3 times of what we collect with WorldView 3 today. And then the next key thing is by having this many revisits or temporal frequency, now we can talk to customers about how do we leverage that capacity, not only to map areas, but also monitor them on a frequent basis. Back to you, Catherine.
Yep, that's a great point. So very exciting. We have multiple questions coming in here. So let's go through them. So Jeff Zeiss asked, how big are the Legion satellites compared to WorldView 3?
Chris, do you want me to take that?
Oh, Chris?
Sure, I'm happy to. WorldView Legion, well, let's start with WorldView 3 is a rather large satellite. Now, with WorldView Legion, it's definitely modernized. So like all things, we've been able to shrink much of the technology. Right now, I mean, the best way to describe it would be a large refrigerator size component, or at least the housing. So just to give you raw dimensions. But the capability with resolution and accuracy is equivalent to our existing WorldView 3 satellite. If anything, we are collecting at a higher native resolution than WorldView 3.
Yeah, let me take this opportunity to say hi to Jeff. Jeff is a good friend. We have known each other for a long time. And yes, Chris basically nailed it. The key thing here is, one thing again I forgot to mention is Legion satellites are being built in-house by our partners in California. And we are leveraging all kinds of new space developments, which resulted in the same or higher performance image quality while significantly reducing the size of the satellites. Back to you, Catherine.
Perfect. All right, next question is from an anonymous attendee. Satellite imagery with such high accuracy is usually dedicated to specific areas and uses. Is this, I assume, is Maxar imagery available for all commercial/private organizations? If yes, what kind of regulations would come into effect?
Chris, you want to take a shot at it? And
yeah, I can answer this one. Yes. Yes. Well, I mean, like all things, we have a book of business across the board, but WorldView Legion will be available to commercial and private organizations. So you will be able to benefit the high accuracy and the high resolution from this launching Constellation. Now, regarding regulations, you know, we are held underneath a NOAA license agreement, and this license has been in play for many, many years or decade plus. You know, we are moving towards potentially receiving updated information that the NOAA license, many of the restrictions will be minimized. That we don't know. We don't have all of those details and specifications. But generally, we are free to supply content and data to all commercial customers when, you know, available weather allows us to collect.
Yeah, and to add to what Chris said, we are a US company and our licenses are held by the US government. So there are few business restrictions we have. For Canada, we do not have any restrictions. But if there is a company doing business globally, there are few areas, it's not only a law of US, but also some agreements we have with certain countries where we have some limitations. But at this point, we can deal with them on a case-by-case basis. But for most of the uses by commercial companies or other organizations, we don't have any restrictions in terms of providing our data.
Thank you,
Excellent.
Kumar, for that.
Okay, next question from Rick Davidson. Does Maxar have any programs to help business partners / resellers develop downstream products to sell into the general business market? I'd be happy to take this question, being on the sales side and having led our global reseller partner program for the last couple years. So yes, we do have a reseller program where we provide all sorts of support services to our partners. We have different tiers with different levels of benefit. And then we're, of course, looking for those partners who can develop against our data and really turn the pixels into meaningful answers for end customers who often our partners understand better than anyone else. So the short answer is yes. The longer answer is we'd be happy to follow up and send you some materials on what that program looks like. And I know the folks currently running that program will be working very closely with Chris and the broader product team to get Legion sample data into the hands of our partners, for example, so that they really understand the potential that exists with our next-gen constellation here and can start making the right business investments now in order to be able to, again, turn that data into usable answers for end customers. Thanks for the question. All right, next question from Paul, and I won't try to butcher your last name, so I'll say Paul B. Is the pricing structure for Legion data expected to be similar to WorldView 2 and 3, greater or less? And I'll turn this question over directly to Chris, who as the product manager will be setting the pricing.
Tentatively today, the plan is to maintain the current pricing structure. That's not to say that new business models or slight changes to pricing might happen down the road, but I don't expect any immediate changes. So you will see similar, the current price list will be very similar to what you will expect for Legion as well.
Excellent. All right, next question from Peter White. This is a lot of data. Can you expand on how users can interact or query the data without having to continually download imagery? Future plans? And I will say I particularly appreciate this question because I think, Peter, you're not alone in what we're hearing from the market, both existing customers and partners that we're already doing business with, and then folks that might want to interact with our data, right? Do we have APIs where we can make sorting through the data and getting to exactly what you want easier and faster? So I will turn that over maybe to both Chris and Kumar to give their flavors on what we're doing.
Sure. Before Chris takes on the hard part of the question, let me inject some humor in here. So at Maxar, I'm sure people talk about big data, but at Maxar, we have a term called heavy data. We call them, these are heavy data boulders and bricks, that's what we are collecting. And it takes a different kind of approach to ensure that these kinds of data are being handled efficiently. So we have several plans, and I'll let Chris talk about our products and platforms that allow you to handle, as well as our catalog. How can you search this data efficiently?
Definitely. Thanks, Kumar. Yeah, there's multiple ways of interacting with our data. Of course, interacting with our archive, I would always suggest looking at the Discover tool. The Discover tool will allow you to kind of have insight into the archive, filtering the massive archive that we have, and allowing you to dig in and view what is available. Now, regarding other platforms, we do have Spatial on Demand, we have Secure Watch, we have curated platforms that are fed the daily take of imagery that's been curated for the providing timely, high quality content that is inputted into these platforms. And from these platforms, we mix and match the types of data where we have our, beautiful Vivid product and Dynamic and Metros and our Strip products that flow in here. And you have the ability of going through a time series or just filtering down what you really absolutely want to see over your AOI. Now, regarding Spatial on Demand, that is more specifically for oil and gas industry, which has a lot of similar attributes as Secure Watch, where the imagery is fed into the platform. But of course, there's some unique data sets for oil and gas customers specifically. And additionally, you don't necessarily have to interact with our own Secure Watch platform. We do offer other APIs and other ways of pulling this data into your GIS system or into your system. So we have other ways of helping you to get access to it. So from our cloud storage, you would be able to use an API, pull it into your system, aggregate it, orient it, and then you could use the data to extract information, or we could curate the data through the API and give you tailored or curated content to feed into your platform where you might want to extract meaningful information or use the data for a whole host of applications.
And Chris, if I can add to that, just want to touch upon the point of downloading the imagery. I think we are, with the new cloud infrastructure in place, I'm sure you heard that Maxar, we transferred around 100 petabytes of data onto Amazon Web Services, and all the data we are talking about will show up in the cloud very quickly after the data is collected. So I think there are new ways to think about, instead of downloading the data, you only download the pieces of the information that are relevant to you. So these are the kinds of things I think we would love to have discussions with you going forward on how do you handle this big data. Back to you, Catherine.
Yeah, that's a great point. Okay, another question from Jeff, and I think we have a repeat question later on, so we can get both of those answered here with this one. After an image is captured, how long before the customer receives it?
Chris, you want to answer it from a product perspective, then I can answer from a different perspective.
Sure. Typically what I tell our customers, for my customers, we normally have an expected delivery window of 1 to 3 days. So if you look in our documentation, our product spec or our product guide, it'll suggest a 1 to 3 day window from collection to delivery. Now, it's a broad window of up to 3 days. Normally, most of our customers receive content within 24 hours of content. Now, if you go even further in there, we have done for defense applications, even gone faster than that for customers. But depending on the product, where it's going, if it's feeding to an online platform, or if you're receiving it through a deliverable, an FTP, an S3 bucket, or through an API, there might be some additional delays after production is complete and then through delivery or dissemination into another platform. So notionally, 1 to 3 days is what I expect from most commercial customers. Like I said, there might be a little bit faster than that for some defense applications.
Yeah, and just to add to what Chris said is we are always working on decreasing the latency from sensor to the end users. So depending on your situation, again, please work with us. And especially when you're talking about emergency response or disaster response, there are ways we can partner together so that we can get the information into the first responders' hands very quickly. So that's a partnership question we can definitely take up after this call. Back to you, Catherine.
Excellent. Okay, David says, great presentation. How easy is it for integrators to use data collected from the Legion satellites? And I'll offer my perspective again, since integrators were in my portfolio the last couple of years, and Chris and Kumar, if I leave anything out, please jump in. And David, if we're not using the same terminology around integrators, please feel free to clarify your question, or you can always follow up with us directly. But we think of integrators as a form of partner, right? We have kind of sales agents, we have resellers, and then we have integrators. And integrators take our data and incorporate it into typically an off-the-shelf product that they're providing to customers, could be customized. One thing to note, and you asked how easy, our reseller program has very standard terms, standard tiers, very clear documentation. We find that each integrator partner and partnership becomes custom to some extent because you're trying to do something unique with your business and your product. And so the only level of complexity here is that it does require us to enter into that sort of custom relationship. So the ease or the difficulty only comes on the business side. In terms of the data and getting access to the data, that should be no issue. But again, you know, we've put more of a strategy around our integrator program over the last couple of years and are deliberately looking for folks to help us enter certain markets that, that require a more finished product.
Yeah, just to add to that, Catherine, from a technology perspective, you already mentioned this. Our data comes in standard formats, industry formats. I actually sit on the board of Open Geospatial Consortium, or OGC. So we follow a lot of those standards that make interoperability between technologies very easy. And as Chris already alluded in his previous answer, we have APIs that are also industry standards. So if you have systems that you want to pull the data into, from a technology perspective, it's almost seamless how you can access our data. Back to you, Catherine.
Excellent. Great add there too. Okay, a question from Samya. What is the superiority of Legion to use 3 orbits, 2 satellites per orbit, in comparison to using all 6 satellites in 1 orbit?
Chris, you want to take this?
Or
it's
Chris?
up to Chris. Yeah, if Chris doesn't want it, I can take it.
You can go ahead and start. I mean, I have some thoughts on it too.
So what happens, as I was mentioning, is sun-synchronous orbits. Ideally, we can place them phased out within the same orbit, that is going from pole to pole, right? But the limitation with that is you have to come at a certain time frame. So today, most of the satellites, I'm generalizing here, come around 10:30 local time. So by having 6 satellites, you will still have more frequency across the globe, but they will all come at 10:30 local time. That's the reason why we picked the inclined orbits, is that allows you to come the 12, 15 times a day so that you can start looking at information multiple times a day. One of the interesting examples that one of our partners, Catherine, was talking about is from Colombia. So in Colombia, it's usually cloudy around 10 in the morning. Actually, it's mostly cloudy, but there are pockets in the afternoon that open up. And by having these orbits that come in the mid-inclination in the afternoon, now we can actually start leveraging the windows of cloud-free areas to collect data. So it's a combination of the orbits, which allows us to collect multiple times a day. Back to you, Catherine.
Great. Yes, I am very much so looking forward to that. For the parts of the Earth that customers want and we just have a lot of trouble with. All right, so our next question is from Tennille. I'm curious to know what happens after the life of a satellite. How do you collect and retrieve them? Do you throw them away, or can they be revived or recycled?
I will take this one. So one of the things people talk about being environmental responsibility, we have as Maxar responsibility in space. And what we do is the first thing we have is the fuel on the satellites has a much longer life than the design of the satellite itself. The reason that's important is we have to maneuver after the satellite is past its life, we have to safely maneuver it down into the gravity and bring it down onto the Earth. That is how we basically bring the satellites down. And the good news for us is 70% of the Earth is water. So when we bring these satellites down or we deorbit these satellites, we ensure that they basically fall in the water and does not harm anybody. So hopefully that will answer your question. We are not recycling them. Basically, we ensure that the deorbiting satellites, a lot of them get burnt in the atmosphere during reorbit into the atmosphere. Whatever is left basically goes into the oceans. Back to you, Catherine.
Perfect. All right, next question from David. What impact do microsatellite imagery innovations have on the future of commercial satellite imagery / data collection like that you do?
Chris, you want to take a shot at it?
Microsatellite.
Yeah. I mean, with the micro or small sat constellations, really, a lot of our use cases are very different. Where small sat constellations that may go up in larger numbers and they're doing different, their value proposition is definitely different than a higher resolution, higher accuracy constellation. They have a unique set of use cases, as we have different use cases, and our use cases are focused more on the higher resolution and higher accuracy coverage. So it's good to see more satellites launching and seeing the variety to the market. As Maxar, we are innovating and we are adjusting our concept of orbits and going into MEO orbits. This is just allowing us to be more versatile and supply more content at higher resolution, at higher accuracy to provide, high quality products. So, I don't see a major impact to our industry as a whole.
Yeah, and I want to add to Chris's comments. The way I look at this is every tool has its purpose, and they're not all built for the same mission. For example, this comparison can be similar to the cars. You can have Ferraris, you can have Toyotas, you can have Fiats, and each of them have their own purpose. And the key thing you have to remember is the quality of the data these sensors can produce. So one of the things I mentioned in my talk was the agility of the satellites, which comes from a very stable platform like we build, where we are able to accurately say this feature is within 3 meters of a given area. So when you start compromising some of these with the small sat technology, you can basically have location errors that can be hundreds of meters. That might be okay if your application is broad area looking for things, but as you start getting into applications where you need high quality feature extraction, high personal accuracy, that's what the business we are in as Maxar. So as Chris mentioned, it depends what you're trying to do with the data. Back to you, Catherine.
Yep, excellent. All right, another question from Jeff. With the stereo capability, one of the products from Legion will be DTM. Chris, do you want to take that one?
Yes, definitely. And as Legion will have very similar capabilities as the rest of the, Maxar constellation. So you will be able to extract features. We are collecting stereo products or stereo imagery pairs over, with the launch. So we will have similar capabilities. You'll be able to do all the same workflows that you have done in the past, collecting DTMs, DSMs, or DEMs. So I don't see any deviation. What I do expect is an increase in 30 centimeter stereo pairs, allowing you to do more fine-tuned and more accurate feature collection.
Excellent. All right, next question from Carmen. What kind of vertical accuracy do you expect to achieve from elevation products generated from Legion? So similar theme to your previous response, Chris.
On the vertical, the vertical accuracy, that's the one that I think still needs a little refinement with the launch and after calibration. I've seen a few notional numbers that it'll be similar or better to our current Constellation, but I kind of want to wait until calibration is finished before I provide details. Kumar, do you have anything else?
Yeah, I want to add that from a different perspective. The Raycon technology I mentioned we recently acquired is actually independent of individual satellites. The way they do is they take multiple images from the constellation and then they build a point cloud. Today, with the Raycon technology, we are getting less than 3 meters spherical error. That means X, Y, and Z. In terms of, when I say Z, it's LE90. So that's where we are, less than 3 meters. And the way I would also mention is the relative accuracy. Relative accuracy of our DSM, DTM, 3D textured models is sub 1 meter. And then when it comes to absolute accuracy, we are better than 3 meters in spherical error. Back to you, Catherine.
Excellent. Okay, a question from Ramin. Due to the large amount of data coming out of Legion, is Maxar developing a web-based platform such as Sentinel Playground in order to help find the best frame and suitable data?
Yeah, I mean, right now, Maxar utilizes our Discover platform, which allows you to access the archive and run or upload your AOIs or shapefiles into the platform, and allows you the opportunity of filtering the data based on various collection parameters to fine-tune your search down to more specifically what you're looking for. We are investing in improvements into this platform and making it easier to extract information.
Great. All right, next question from Anonymous. So I can't even compliment you on your question here, but this isn't a serious question. But seeing as we're in a happy hour, how did you come up with the Legion name? I ask because in the latest Terminator movie, another AI called Legion rises up with a mechanized army to wipe out civilization. So we do appreciate the fun questions. There's still time to get a few more of those in, and we'll be sure to call you out for those and compliment you. So I'm actually curious to know where the name came from. I don't think I know the answer to this.
So I can comment on this one because I have been one of those guys who starts naming stuff. Yep. The way we name our constellations is a consensus process. And obviously, the higher up you're in the organization, you get better words in this case. So the way we look at this is what is the best way to describe a constellation? That's what we are trying to do. And after a few of us looked at the naming of the constellations, we did, using our branding exercise, decide on Legion. Only after that, few of my colleagues pointed out that, hey, there is a negative connotation to this one as well. So our intention, I can definitely tell you, is not to wipe out the civilization, but actually to make a better world, which is our tagline of Maxar.
Perfect. All right, let's go. I think Jinkai, we already answered how quick can the customer have access to the imagery previously. So we'll skip to the next one. And that's Blair's question. Similar to the Sentinel application platform, Snap, by the European Space Agency. Does Maxar have any software designed specifically to do processing and analysis with Maxar image products? Chris, do you want to at least start this one? And you've answered in a few different forms today, so there's definitely a theme here.
Sure, definitely. We do have our GBDX platform, which allows you to interact with various ML applications, either by a customer pulling in their applications or our predetermined ones. So there is some analytical capabilities out of that proprietary system. But Maxar itself is a rather, large entity, and we do have attributes out of our Radiant team that has their own applications and technologies of extracting meaningful information. So there is a crosswalk between the various entities to improve and augment our ability to analyze and process the big data that is coming into our systems and extracting information. And so, yes, there is a lot of investment, a lot of work towards it. We do have some capabilities today, and we are definitely improving on those capabilities with our product roadmaps to define and extract even more information down the road.
Excellent. All right, next question from Ben. Are there regulatory hurdles that you would like to see adjusted? And I'd love to hear from both Chris and Kumar on this particular question. So whoever wants to start.
Go ahead, Chris. I'll take it later.
Well, okay. Well, yes. I mean, I would love many restrictions to be removed. I mean, I would have to admit that. I mean, I would like have, all kinds of flexibility, but many of the restrictions that are implied they have specific use cases or requirements and applications on, maintaining the safety of people. So many of these requirements are held in place because of that. So specifically, I would always challenge, higher and higher resolutions, for the Constellation, allowing us to, do more, see more. But I'll stop right there. I could go on and on.
I think Chris nailed it, right? It's one of those interesting things of balance between what the technology can do and what the government can allow us to do. And to be honest, I think thanks to the technology innovations in the commercial industry, we're actually challenging the various regulations that are in place. From my perspective, yes, the governments have been reacting a little bit slower than we expected, but in general, I think I'm seeing a very positive trend where the various governments across the globe are relaxing the relaxations on imagery that can be widely adopted. I see that in US, I see that in India, elsewhere. So yes, we'll keep complaining because we want to push the edge of technology. At the same time, as Chris mentioned, we need to ensure various national and homeland security things that are beneficial for the United States and the globe. Back to you, Catherine.
Yep, agreed. And that segues very nicely into Ramin's next question. Are there any plans to improve spatial resolution to under 30 centimeter?
Well, I'm happy to start on this one. Constellation-wise, I mean, right now, Legion will be launching and providing a resolution as low as 29 centimeters, which our current license is well within, allows us down to 25. What is interesting to this is that I'm actually launching the technology quite soon. Matter of fact, you might even see it this week, about high definition or HD technology, which will intelligently increase the number of pixels to improve the aesthetics and the visual clarity of our 30 centimeter imagery. So this one will be, I would definitely say look out for my messaging and my blog because this will allow you to take our 30 centimeter natively collective imagery and improve the visual experience using our proprietary HD technology.
Yeah, and just to add to that, there's always, we are a commercial company, and the higher the resolution, the smaller the SWOT and the area you can collect. So there's always a business discussion that goes along with shall we get the best resolution from space. So that's how Maxar approaches this in deciding the spatial resolution of our satellites. Back to you, Kat.
Absolutely. There are always trade-offs. And then as we get even more explicit, the question is there a commercial market for that as well? All right, 2 more questions, and please get any more questions in that you have. I know we're at time here, but we're happy to take any remaining questions from the audience. So, Anyusuya, sorry for the pronunciation, are all the 6 legions going up at one go? If not, what is the launch schedule? Also, are all the 6 legions identical in design and capabilities?
Chris, you want to take that?
Sure, definitely. Legion will be going up in 2 separate launches. Kumar had mentioned that we'll be launching the first 2 sun-synchronous orbits in the early of 2021, and the next 4 satellites will launch in the later part of 2021. So expect next year 2 separate launches, one with the first 2 satellites and our sun-synchronous, and then towards the end of the year, our last 4 of our MEO, or mid-inclination orbit, birds will go up in the last launch of 2021.
Excellent. All right. Question from Tanya. How does Maxar's satellite differ between thickly populated and scarcely populated regions? How does it know what places should be revisited? It's a great question.
Yeah, and I'd love to tackle this one real quick. So Maxar, first and foremost, we offer global products. So of course, we provide coverage globally over the world. We do have a rather comprehensive collection and content strategy on providing timely coverage over not just the populated regions, but we do have a collection strategy that allows us to collect over sparsely or maybe even not even populated areas around the globe. So this approach allows us to fulfill our on-the-shelf global products, and we can provide unique coverage of the globe. So I think I'll stop there because I could keep going.
Yeah, just to add to what
Excellent.
Chris said, the way we designed Legion satellites, we wanted to get the revisit we are talking about for 90% of the global population. So the mid-inclination orbits we picked were very deliberate so that we can cover 90% of the global population. And as Chris mentioned, then we pick and choose which areas we want to update based on the demands of our markets and customers. Back to you, Catherine.
Excellent. A question from Nicholas. For those of us who aren't currently following you, can you share your blog on how we can improve the resolution of our imagery? Chris, you want to take that and maybe clarify a bit more on HD?
Sure, definitely. Well, my blog will be coming out this week, so I would encourage, of course, if you're not following Maxar, please follow Maxar. And but I would say go to our website, and we actively post our blogs on the site. And also you'll see these going into LinkedIn and Twitter and other locations. But we'll have a whole host of, papers and information regarding HD and the technology. I'll have a landing page that'll provide examples that you'll be able to interact with, and some that you can download and use. So I would encourage you just, come to our website, or, I'm sure you can reach out to any one of us on the panel here, and we can get you the information.
Perfect. we will make sure we get that to you, Nicholas, directly. So thanks for the question. All right, from Tony, in the panel discussion, the ability to do 3D change detection was noted. Can you elaborate on this?
Yeah, I'll take this one. So with our Rikon technology, what we do is we take multiple images of a given area and try to construct a 3D model. So when we are doing this correlation of the point cloud, what will happen is if things have changed, then we find these anomalies that do not have the same registration compared to the areas that have not changed in 3D. So that's how we do 3D change detection. And I would be glad to provide you more information after this call on how we go about doing 3D change detection.
Excellent. Okay, a question from Junlin. Can we get ortho imagery?
Yes, you can. Yeah. We have a whole host of, you can get ortho imagery through our strip products, and or we do have on the shelf large area color balanced mosaics like our Vivid product that you would have countrywide or worldwide color balancing and tonal balancing, or a smaller scale version of that is our dynamic product, which is still a very large area. So yes, we have a whole host of ortho imagery. We have examples and samples on our website that you are more than happy to gain access to and download.
Perfect. All right, and our last question, unless we have any others that come in while we're answering this one, from Michael, does Maxar perform any feature and temporal monitoring over bridges and dams, for example? If so, what accuracy are you able to achieve?
Right. Okay, I can take this. Yes, we do have certain customers and certain situations where unique cases where you are monitoring dams and or bridges. We do typically most of these customers are leveraging our 8-band imagery, and they are looking for, you know, spectral signatures either in the soil, looking for moisture or looking for changes. Now with that, we can also extract elevation models and do a delta or change on the shift in the changes of, say, a dam and how subsidence or shifts in the surrounding terrain might be happening. So we do have a few situations where we're doing that right now. And accuracy, the accuracy depends on some of these situations. We have customers that have supplied additional ground control above what we currently had, which improved the accuracy. So the imagery accuracy itself was improved down below 3 meters CE90. The DEMS itself, I don't have that number off the top of my head. I don't know if you have that, Kumar.
No, I don't.
But we're happy to get that information to you.
Yeah, and this is again, Chris, correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't we have a product, we have been doing alpha or beta testing that talks about monitoring different places? Maybe that's something we can come back to you that talks about monitoring various sites. Back to you, Catherine.
Perfect. Well, it looks like we have run through all of our questions. We'll give you guys, you know, a couple more seconds here as we wrap up and thank everyone. And of course, I know that we're all on LinkedIn, or we'll be sure to get you our contact information if you'd like to continue any of these conversations or want to clarify an aspect of your question that didn't get fully answered here. But again, we just really want to thank all of the participants who attended. I think we had over 70 folks at various points here, so really appreciate your time. Hope everyone learned a little bit about Maxar. Of course, appreciate the fun questions too. Thank you to Chris and Kumar for providing a wealth of technical knowledge here on our constellation. And again, thank you to Jonathan and Tessa. And I did want to also thank Rachel Cutler, who has worked tirelessly at Maxar to help organize our participation in this event, to keep us on track, and to spend her time here with us today. So thank you. Jonathan, any other closing remarks?
Just to say thank you, everybody. That was absolutely amazing. All those questions, the audience seems so engaged. I haven't seen so many really good questions on a diverse number of topics. You could tell some of the audience really knew some specific areas on the business side they wanted to drill down on, and as well on the technical side, which I think just goes to show the diversity of the audience that was with us. So thank you all. And yes, of course, Rachel has been instrumental in putting this together. Thank you very much, Rachel. And thank you, Catherine, Chris, Kumar.
Thank you.
And
thank you.
Thank you.
There's a free iPad coming, I think.
There is a free iPad coming. We will be doing that. We're announcing that on Friday, I believe.
Fantastic. Well, thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.